In this video, I'll go through the process of creating a diffuse for the door. So as you can see, I've already loaded up the UVs as a PNG, so it's transparent. Can't really see anything there, so the best thing to do is create a layer, fill it. I've got a grey there. Fill that, move it down, and again, try to name as you go along. I might not be talking a lot throughout this video. It's just hopefully be able to see what exactly I'm doing and be able to sort of deconstruct it and work around it. So I apologize if I'm not really talking a lot during this video. So as you can see, I have the background color and the UVs. You may be wondering, why have I made these two separate things? You could have literally just saved out the UVs as a PNG, but I'll show you that in a minute as to why I've chosen these to be two different layers. So as you can see, I've got some textures loaded up. I've got a wood texture and different wood texture and this metal here. Now, there are two ways of getting textures. One is the primary way, is basically going out there with a camera, taking pictures of, say, a wall or the ground, and that's kind of cool, you know, to make your own textures. But again, there are a few constraints, such as, you know, getting the lighting right, make sure the camera is dead on, you don't want it to be sort of slightly skewed or anything like that. Another way, or the easiest way, is basically go for secondary textures, such as stuff from online, such as various websites. And the best website I can recommend is CG Textures. This has a treasure load of textures for you to download. It is absolutely free to sign up for. You get a 15 megabyte limit every day. So you do need to actually create membership. It's pretty easy, don't worry. It's used by a lot of people in the industry, and again, for you guys, it's the best place to go. As you can see, there's so many different types of textures. If I go on the wood, for example, there are so many subcategories for it, so it's not just like wood, it's also different stuff. And some of these textures are actually tileable as well, so you don't have to painstakingly create your own. As you can see here, it does tell you if it's tiled. If you do have a premium account, which I think is about $60 or something, you can get the higher res tiles, or you can download the originals and try to make your own tile out of that. So this is the best place to download them from. I do say go to CG Textures and download your textures from there. So back to this. First thing we need to do is edit the UV slightly. It does stick out a bit, but it's still a bit too weak. So I would say go to Images, Adjust, Brightness, Contrast, just bring that up. Yeah, that's not much difference. Just do it a few times just to make sure. Come on. And one more just to be safe. And if you want, you can actually invert this image as well. Yeah, as you can see, it's a lot darker now. Actually, it stands out quite a bit. So I'll bring in one of my textures. I'll bring in the wood texture here. And again, it is very big, so I want to scale it down. So Control T, hold Shift. That way, keep its size. Scale it down. Let's have a look compared to that. Scale up a little bit. Yeah, that should be fine. So call that this. Again, if you want to make a copy or something, you click on it, right click, duplicate, or the faster way is by, again, having it selected, hold Alt, click on the texture you want to duplicate, move your mouse, and that will instantly create a duplicate for you. Now, the reason why I have the UVs and the background as two separate layers is so that I can have the UVs on the top layer at all time. That way I can see just how much surface area the texture goes over the UVs, so I know that this is definitely covering the entire UV shell there, and plus I know where everything is. If I had this right underneath there, I would have no idea here. I wouldn't really have an idea of like how much of the UVs it's covering. So if I have it on the top right there, I can tell straight away that, yeah, this is definitely covering the entirety of this area. And what I also like to do is, as you see, I made a copy here. I like to make a group. I like to make a group where I can keep all the original components in there. That way, if I ever need to redo this texture again or make some little changes, I have the originals here. And I also make like duplicates of the original finished versions and put that in a group as well, just in case. So now I have this, and I will transform, scale it, and I'll start moving this into place now. You can use the mouse to move it around, and you can also use the arrow keys. The arrow keys are they do little steps at a time. It's pretty good if you try to do like precise action. And again, just start Alt, moving it up. The good thing about Photoshop is that it does actually snap images together. So you don't have to always worry about trying to get it right on top. Photoshop is smart enough to actually snap it right into place. You might want to move it down a little bit. As you can see, there's a little bit of a seam there. Yeah, a little bit of a seam there. So I might just move it down slightly just to cover that up. And now we need to merge all these three. If you want to select multiple layers, what you can do is you can hold Alt. Oh, sorry. If you hold Shift and then pick the bottom layer, it will select all the layers in between. Or if you want to select multiple layers throughout your layer channel, you can press Control. That way you can select various different ones that you want. Obviously, we'll just go for Shift because it's want all three of them. Merge layers. And I can pretty much duplicate this over here. Move that into place a little bit. Let's have a look. Yeah, something like that should be fine. And again, I could probably merge these two together as well. I'm not going to be using much wood after this. So right now I'm just deleting some of the extra areas that are overlapping with the other parts of this arch where I don't want it to be wooden. So yeah, I think that's okay for that. And again, I'll make a copy of this so that I can duplicate. Should rename these. Okay. So, okay, extra layer. If you hold Control and select the little viewer in the layers here, you can actually select that particular image. So as you can see, I've got that entire thing selected, and here I'm going to try out different sort of blends with some colours. So I might want a darker brown for this, so I'm just going to look for something like this, and then something darker, G, fill it up, and play around with the layers and see what we can get out of this. That seems okay. Too much. Again, it's all about playing with the layers, see what works, what doesn't work. That looks alright, actually. So, merge layers. Again, might make some little... Yeah, see that's just made it a lot better now compared to, say, that. Just darkening it, that little bit just makes it look oh so much better. A little bit of that. Yeah, that looks perfect now. You might want to delete all those inner areas I might not need. Again, it's up to you really, this would be fine as it is. Shouldn't really increase the size of these, but I'm just doing it slightly, so it's not going to make too much of a difference. So this is near completion now, as you can see. Got the metal texture around that. I might want to go in and change this a bit. So I might make it like a darker image. Adjustments, brightness, contrast. Okay, not too much. I want to add some decals around it. yeah, so I got these little nuts here. I might get one of them to use as a decal for the door. Again, to make sure I select it correctly. Want to unselect stuff, press Alt. That should be fine. Let's see what. That might work. Scale it down to make it fit here. So as you can see, I've put the nuts here just to add a bit of decal to it. Again, using the selection tools, you can just take little bits out. As you can see, I took the bit out of the nut here for this texture. So yeah, I could go in and just delete some of these inner areas here, but that's not going to make much of a difference. As long as the UV shells are covered, it's pretty much textured fine. Again, I could go in, add a little bit of variation to it. I could sort of blend this particular texture in as well. So if I bring it into here, say for example, I could overlay or soft light just to add a little bit more flair to the metal here. See what works, what doesn't work. But for now, I'll just leave it as it is. So yeah, and again, make sure to name your layers. So I'll actually go ahead and create duplicates of these, and I'm going to create a folder for normals, which we'll go into in a minute, and I'll probably make one more duplicate. Name that wood. Up. Yeah. Okay, so we now have a fully textured door here. I could go in and again add more to this. I might want to change the contrast on the metal here. Again, I could add in some extra elements from this, blend it in. But as of right now, this is completely fine. In the next video, I'll go through how to create a specular and normal maps. So that's why I've created these two particular groups here, as I'll be using them to create the normals and the specular.